G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright people, midweek report time. So, there's been, it's been a weird one. Since Monday there's been a lot of news breaking, a lot of fights being announced, good fights at that. So, it's as I said, look, we had a rough 2022 in terms of boxing. It was actually a deceiving year, wasn't it? Because the actual start of the year, I want to say up until about April, started out pretty good. And it just went downhill. I mean, it just went downhill thereafter. So this year, I'm more optimistic and it's looking good. It's looking good. So the fight that I think is probably, it's right up there, 1 and 2 with Spence Crawford. And don't worry, we will touch on Errol Spence now in a minute. But we'll be obviously heavyweight undisputed. That's what we're going to talk about. So the IBF have now cleared the way for Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk to happen next for undisputed. So they've done a U-turn on their decision to order Usyk versus Hrgovic and accepted that the WBA's mandatory, which is Daniel Dubois, is the next mandatory due. Interesting. So what about Joe Joyce? There's no mention to him. So the IBF are basically saying that undisputed is going to go ahead, and obviously Dubois is injured, so he can't push that mandatory now. He's apparently injured, so that mandatory won't get called. So, well, it will, but you know what I mean, it won't be called until he's back and ready. So undisputed seemingly has no stumbling blocks. Joe Joyce is with Queensbury, so Frank Warren obviously is co-promoting Tyson Fury. So it seems like that fight has no reason why it shouldn't happen next. Frank Warren also said that he wants Fury to fight 3 times in 2023. I say that's highly unlikely I'd say, but you never know. He's also revealed they've now sent Usyk's team a draft of the contract, and yeah, it's interesting. So it seems as though there's no stumbling blocks. The IBF, who are normally sticklers, it has to be said, for mandatories, except at welterweight, of course, where they seem to just not bother. They normally call it and they normally stick to it. So for them to do a U-turn is interesting. It's interesting. Maybe Team Hrgovic have been offered step-aside money. I don't know. If they were, it seems like you may as well just take the step-aside money. You've got to get your title shot anyway. Or at worst, you're going to fight for a vacant title and you're going to get basically money for doing nothing. Essentially free money. So, yeah, that's good news. That is good news. Obviously, we want undisputed. That's what I want. I'd love to see undisputed. So, for me, getting that fight over the line, it's a must now. And, there is no stumbling blocks as far as I'm concerned. Usyk is not with Matchroom. He's not with PBC. He's not with Golden Boy. He's not signed to DAZN, etc. He's not signed to Showtime. There's no reason why this fight can't happen. There's absolutely no reason why this fight can't happen. Let's get it over the line. There's talk of early March. Right, we're coming into the middle of January now. 6 weeks. I reckon, just my opinion, it's going to be early April, late March. I reckon if we get in this fight, it's early April, late March. I don't think it's going to be the date April the 4th that they were talking about. I think it's going to go a bit longer than that. I think they might want to announce this with maybe 2 months to spare, if you get me, because they'll probably want to just draw the build-up out. Get people excited, do as much media coverage as they can, and then obviously we fight. It's probably going to be in Saudi Arabia or somewhere like that. So Fury Usyk next. As I said, I don't see a reason why this fight shouldn't happen next. I really don't. Another fight, which I'm really excited about, I'm really looking forward to this, is Lee Wood defending against Mauricio Lara. That is going to take place in Nottingham on February the 18th. I've actually seen that the card, some of the undercard fights, I'll just see if I can get them here, have been announced. So Gary Cully is going to be on it. Galal Yafai. I always get them. Cal Yafai is easy, but Gamal and Galal, I always get them mixed up. I think Galal is the Olympian. Gamal is the guy who gets dropped a lot. That's the difference between the two. So, undercard not looking too shabby, it has to be said. Kieran Conway going to be on there as well. But, Dalton Smith as well is going to be on that card. Looking forward to seeing him. That's his first fight now with Matchroom under his new contract. Obviously, his last fight was on Sky, so that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how he looks. I do rate Dalton Smith. I think he's a good talent, and I wouldn't mind seeing him against O'Hara Davis at some point this year. I think that'd be a great step up fight for him. But in terms of the main event, Lara versus Wood. I mean, we can't ask for a better fight stylistically. What I will say about this is we ain't seeing a decision. We're seeing a knockout. Either way. Both guys have the power to hurt each other. Both guys have been down in their careers. Mauricio Lara has. Lee Wood has. Lee Wood was a domestic level fighter in 2019 since training with Ben Davison. And people who want to critique Ben Davison and say, oh look, he's only had Tyson Fury and Billy Joe Saunders. They were the finished article. Well, he's brought, to his credit, you can't take this away from him, he brought Lee Wood, a domestic level fighter who was trained by Dave Caldwell, losing to guys like Jezza Dickens, to now being a world champion, a legit world champion now that he's been elevated to super champion. So you can't argue with that. And he's beaten people who are, in my opinion, technically better than him. People like Kanzu and definitely Michael Conlon. He's been able to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Not against Kanzu, but against Conlon, obviously. He did in that 12th round. Him against Lara is going to be a good fight. I mean, that fight is going to be a good fight. There's no one going to convince me that's going to be a good fight. Now, what I will say about this fight, right? I would imagine Lee Wood is going to open as the betting favourite. It's going to be interesting to see what the odds are on Mauricio Lara. I'll tell you why. Because I remember when Josh Warrington was getting ready to fight Lopez. I think they did close a good bit in fight week, but I think someone was saying that a couple of weeks out, there was some very good odds on Lopez for the win. And I know a lot of people made a nice little profit from Lopez winning. I wonder what the odds on Lara are going to be. Because honestly, if they were wide enough, it's worth slapping some money down on Mauricio Lara. Personally, I'll give my pick closer to the fight, but Mauricio Lara, like, if he's a good underdog in terms of, like, in the bookies, it's worth putting some money on him. 100%. 100%. It's worth putting some money on him. I'm not someone who would normally gamble, really. I very seldom do. But Lara, if he's an underdog with the bookies and it's good enough odds, have a look at that. Have a punt on that. So, February actually is shaped to be a good month because we have Matias versus Ponce. That's going to happen on a Showtime show on February the 25th. That's going to be for the vacant IBF super lightweight world title. It's sad because that fight's going to go under the radar, and that fight has fight of the year written all over it. It really does. Both guys come to bring it. They come to win. They come to fight. They come to trade leather. I've seen Ponce against Ritson, and he just bullied Ritson up and down that ring. You know, he really didn't just beat Ritson up. Matias, I've seen him a few times. Obviously, I saw him in 2019 against, I cannot remember his name. Oh, Maxim something, Davos or something like that. The Russian fighter who tragically died subsequently after. He suffered injuries that night, terrible injuries, and R.I.P. God rest his soul. I know that kind of, he came back too soon, suffered a loss, and he avenged that loss, and he's had some good wins in the immediate time. So we have that. I would say Matias would win that, in my opinion. I think he's just a better fighter of the two. But I think that fight will go, shamefully, I think that fight's going to go under the radar. I think it's a great fight. It's a great fight. Obviously, we have the WBO have announced, or they've ordered, Kazuto Ioka to defend his WBO super flyweight world title against Yunto Nakatani. I think Kazuto Ioka, I think he's showing signs of decline now. And I think Nakatani I personally think he'd beat him at this stage. Would he stop him? No, I wouldn't like to see Kazuto Ioka get stopped, to be honest. I like Kazuto Ioka. He's a good fighter. He's a great fighter. But I would be definitely putting money on Nakatani to win that fight, 100%. Frank Warren. We're all positive it will be done about Fury Usyk. There are a lot of things to be sorted out, but I genuinely believe this will happen. The IBF got rid of their mandatory. They cancelled it. Everything looks positive. That's good to hear. Again, I'll go back to it. I want this fight. I want to see Undisputed. This made me giggle a bit. Eddie Hearn on Conor Benn was on the DAZN boxing show. He says, Conor has made it clear to me he wanted to get straight back in a big fight. I would prefer him to have a run out, but he made it clear he wants Chris Eubank Jr., who has a fight lined up, Gervonta Tank Davis, who's a lightweight, Kell Brook, who's retired, or Manny Pacquiao, who's also retired. You know, it was George Foreman's birthday there yesterday. Do you want to add him to that list? Tito Trinidad, add him to the list. You know, Nigel Benn while we're at it, if we're talking about retired fighters. Look, we need to wait and see what's going on. He's getting top of the WBC investigation, and I don't care about the WBC investigation. It has no bearing on Conor Benn's career. It doesn't have any bearing. People could turn around and be like, "Oh, gee, the WBC are investigating him." Blah, blah, blah. It has no bearing on his career. If the WBC came out tomorrow and banned Conor Benn, that wouldn't mean anything. It would just mean he's banned from partaking in WBC sanctioned bouts. I've used this example once, and I'll use it again. Povetkin was banned from December 2017 to December 2018 by the WBC. How many fights did he have in 2017? 2. One for an international WBO, and I think for an international WBA. It doesn't matter if you're banned by a sanctioning body. Does not matter. You can still fight anywhere in the world. You can do whatever you want. You just can't fight for their title. That's all it is. So it means nothing to me as far as I'm concerned. Nothing. Now, Deontay Wilder's trainer Malik Scott said that their next fight is likely going to be Andy Ruiz. Okay, interesting. In March or April. Just to interject, March or April is shaping up to be a good month for heavyweights, because it's likely we're going to get Undisputed. I would hope we're going to get Undisputed that month. AJ is coming back in April, and Deontay Wilder. Looking like a good month. Do you remember 2019? Remember 2019, where we had Fury fighting, Wilder fighting, and AJ fighting. I think roughly all within a week of one of them. There might have been a 2-week gap between one of them, but it was essentially they were all fighting. And I think it was Wilder Brazil first. Or it might have been Fury Schwartz first, one or the other. And it culminated in AJ. No, it was Wilder first, then AJ, and then Fury last, I think. I think it was in that order. And I remember at the time, I was only a couple of hundred subs saying one of them is going to come through with an L. One of them will come through that with an L. And what happened? One of them came through with an L. Because that's heavyweight boxing, you never know. Well, would one of them come through with an L if Fury, AJ, Wilder fought again? Possibly. I mean, I would say the most likely would be Tyson Fury. I give Ruiz not much of a chance. I think he's just too slow-footed, doesn't move his head enough, and it's just going to be a sitting duck for the right hand. I think it's a sitting duck for Wilder's right hand. I really do. Oleksandr Usyk with a message to Fury. The average weight is here. Where you at, belly? At Tyson Fury. Yeah. He looks in good shape, does Oleksandr Usyk. He looks in very good shape, actually. And you see, what I like about Usyk is, if you see him in this pic here, he just looks like someone he's at his normal weight, or maybe a little bit over his normal weight, but not going and packing on excess muscle, deciding, I'm going to come in at 240 because I'm a heavy. I'd say he's no more than 225 at the max in that picture. So yeah, Oleksandr Usyk, consummate professional. I just hope to God we get this fight. I really do. I really, really, really do. Eddie Hearn has stated that making Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano 2 for undisputed lightweight in May in Ireland, Croke Park, is a priority. It's provided that Serrano beats Erica Cruz on February the 4th in New York. So yeah, we want to do that in Croke Park. I'd like to see boxing in a stadium in Ireland. At the end of the day, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I'm seeing boxing in Ireland slowly creep up the ladder. We're seeing it on terrestrial TV here in Ireland a lot more. There's more shows happening than there was even in 2019, 2018, because it was really, there wasn't much happening. So it's a good thing. We're hearing Conlon talking about taking shows down to south, obviously south of Ireland. There's other promoters go. There's a lot of good happening. And if we could get a stadium fight in Ireland, have a mainly Irish undercard, you can imagine Gary Cully, Kevin and Jacko will be on there and people like that. If we could do that, it would help so much, because I'd like to see Irish boxing grow. At the end of the day, most of the fighters we have here are crap. They're absolutely garbage. The majority of them aren't even in shape. And I'm talking about fighters who are not signed to major promoters, the guys who are kind of at grassroots. I know it sounds hard, but you go look at some of these guys. Many of them enter the ring at like welterweight and they have love handles. So I can't take a fighter like that serious. I can't tell. People say like that's a bit harsh. It's like you're fighting at welterweight, you've love handles. How can I take that serious? How can I take someone like that serious and say they're going to have a great career? And obviously they all look shocking. There's very few Irish fighters out there who genuinely have talent, but at least if we have events on here, we might be able to find the next Steve Collins or someone like that. You never know. In terms of Errol Spence, oh boy, you can imagine my surprise when I seen this. So it's been reported that Errol Spence is going to come back in April, as he said in the video post car crash, against Terence Crawford. Nope. Against Keith Thurman at a 154 pound non-title fight. Oh dear God, please no. Tell me that he is not going to move up to 154 pounds now. Because and at the end of the day, how is it going to be if you're going to come back down to 147? Keith Thurman shouldn't be your mandatory, but he is. Why not just fight him at 147 pounds? Why are we making this non-title? And furthermore, why are we having Keith Thurman in general? Why don't we try and go into the Terence Crawford fight, the fight that we all want? I love Errol Spence. I'll watch Errol Spence every day of the week and twice on a Sunday. But why are we having this fight at 154 pounds, non-title? He's mandatory at 147. Just flip and fight him at 147. Get it out of the way and let's get this Crawford fight. The reason why I'm not happy he's having it at 154, with two reasons. One, he might just decide, you know what, 147, too much of a stretch. Body feels good at 154. I'm staying here. What do we do then? The belts get fragmented. Crawford would have to go up to 154 pounds. And we're back to repeating this whole goddamn cycle again. Please, let us have Crawford Spence this year. It's the fight I want, probably more than any in boxing. I love the fight. I've been saying that for years now. I really want to see Crawford Spence. That's the fight I want more than any in boxing. I think it's a tremendous fight. It's for undisputed at welterweight. I mean, Keith Thurman looked not particularly good against Mario Barros. He looked awful against Josecito Lopez. He hasn't looked good in a fight since 2017, 5 years ago. 6 years ago now, isn't it actually? 6 years ago, the time flies. The last time he looked good was against Danny Garcia in 2017. And you could even argue maybe even before that, maybe Sean Porter, because that was a great fight, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter. But Keith Thurman has done absolutely zilch the last few years, and he's, oh man. Anyway, I'll just start going on there. Dempsey McKeon stated that he is one of the front runners to potentially face Joshua on April 1st. He's questioned whether AJ will ultimately choose a southpaw. Yeah, for me it's a weird one, because it's like, I can understand the matchmaking point of it behind Dempsey McKeon. Personally, I would have just took it down on Wi-Fi first, but I understand that Eddie Hearn probably wants to do it in the stadium in the summer. I get that. But why another southpaw? Maybe it's a mental thing with Anthony Joshua. Maybe it's a case of, I've been in there with a southpaw twice, he's beaten me twice, he schooled me twice, I'm going to go in, I'm going to beat up this southpaw, so to maybe get the monkey off your back. That, like, it's not the southpaw stance, it's just Oleksandr Usyk is just a better fighter. You know, there's no shame saying it. So we'll see what happens there. At the end of the day, right, I don't think Dempsey McKeon's a bad comeback opponent. At the end of the day, I use the word comeback. You know, he's coming back. It's not like he's coming back at world level or stating that, you know, straight back in at world level. No, and arguably he needs a lot more than 2 comeback fights. I think he needs 3 or 4, truth be told. Jose Ramirez versus Richard Comey is reportedly set for the 25th of March. I like that fight. It's a good fight. Richard Comey, has he fought since the loss to Loma? That I don't know. But Comey, former world champion at 135 pounds, obviously took an L against Lopez. Comey is a good world level lightweight. He is. He's a world level lightweight, but he's just not there with the elites. That's the best way to describe Richard Comey. A very good fighter. Him against Ramirez, let's see. They're both with Top Rank, so it's in-house. Let's see. And a very good fight here. A really, really good fight for April the 1st. And no, it's not an April Fool's Day joke. This is a legit fight that's been announced. Was reportedly agreed anyway. Is Robeisy Ramirez versus Isaac Dogboe. I like that fight. Isaac Dogboe. What do you want to say about him? Did he overachieve or has he underachieved? It's a weird one with Dogboe, because he fought Jesse Magdaleno 2019. Was it 2019 or 2018? Might have been 2018. He fought Jesse Magdaleno. And he beat up Jesse Magdaleno pretty bad. And we've heard nothing from Jesse Magdaleno. And he's still pretty young. I don't even think he's 30 yet. I mean, if he's 30, he's in his early 30s. He beat Nonito Donaire in 2016. Looked to be on top of the world and just, you know, just gone. Just, where is he? In terms of Dogboe, he had that fight. He fought a Japanese fighter whose name escapes me. in the summer of 2018. Then he fought Emmanuel Navarrete. They obviously thought it'd be an easier touch. Navarrete has since shown that he is he's legit, and he beat up Dogbe twice. Pretty bad both times, truth be told. Isaac Dogbe, there was rumours he was going to fight Michael Conlon back in 2020. That never materialised, but he's been going around. I think he's undefeated since that fight, since the Navarrete fight. So him against Robeisy Ramirez, good fight. Bloody good fight, lads. I'll be giving him. I think Ramirez is going to win a world title this year. I think he will. He is talented as hell, and he's finally starting to get into his strides now as a pro. Stephen Fulton, we're getting fights announced left, right and centre here, lads. Stephen Fulton versus Figueroa 2 for the interim WBC featherweight title will take place on February 25th in Minneapolis. Obviously, I said Jermaine Ponce will face Subriel Matias. Great, that's going to be a good card. That is going to be a good card. That means then that there's no chance we're going to see Fulton versus Inoue at 122 though. If he's gone up to 126. It's just sad. I think that would have been a great fight. Eddie Hearn was recently interviewed by IFL, and he said he would like to make the AJ versus White rematch in July. He said he wants AJ to fight 3 times this year, April the 1st, July and December, and expects Dylan White to return, have an interim fight himself. Eddie, that could be risky depending on who you put him in there with. Seriously, that could be risky. Because I thought Dylan White, you could argue that he lost his last fight. He does not look... He looks there for the taking, let's be real. So, you know, I would say if you're banking on a summer date for AJ versus White 2, who knows who could come over and upset the apple cart. I'll put it like that. So you want to be careful with that, Eddie. You want to be careful with that one. Eddie Hearn has also revealed that Canelo versus Ryder will happen in May, and has predicted that if Canelo wins, he will then rematch Dimitri Bivol, defending his his undisputed super middleweight world title. So it will take place at 168 pounds. I don't know how I feel about that really, because Bivol has said before that he can do 168 pounds. He can, but can he do it? That was years ago. Can he do it safely now? I'd imagine he probably could, but will that not take more out of him? I know Canelo looks more comfy at 168 than he did at 175. That I've no doubt. And I think one of the reasons is because Canelo, I think he was pumping weights, a lot of weights to get up to 175, to be strong at that weight, and it took away from him. Obviously, the way Canelo fights, he's very explosive. That will drain you over a long haul. So, we'll see. 168. Chad Dawson, and anyone who blames Andre Ward for this, no, not Andre Ward. Chad Dawson voluntarily went down to 168 pounds. I know apparently he was knocked out in sparring by Edison Miranda in the weeks leading up to that, allegedly anyway. Or I think it was one or the other. I know I heard that it was Edison Miranda, I think it was, in sparring going into the Ward fight. He looked terrible in the Ward fight, and he didn't. And obviously his next fight was against Stevenson at 175, and he got knocked out with one shot in the first round. So it doesn't always work. And that wasn't Andre. Anyone saying Andre Ward brought Chad Dawson? No, he didn't. Chad Dawson voluntarily said, I could do 168. He said it. It's years ago now, but that was Chad Dawson volunteering to do it. It wasn't Andre Ward, didn't force him. Eddie Hearn has also stated that Josh Warrington may well challenge the winner of Lara versus Woods, meaning that we could have Woods versus Warrington at Nottingham Forest's City Ground, or we could have Warrington versus Lara 3 at Elland Road. Josh Warrington is still a big name. If Eddie Hearn got him for a run out and got him a win over, say, a European level fighter, gets him in there with the winner of Lara Wood, I think that if Mauricio Lara beats, I'm going to throw it in there, if he beats Lee Wood, I'd be very surprised if we do see Lara versus Warrington 3. I think Lara is due that trilogy fight, truth be told, given the way the second fight ended. That left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. It really did. I think he's due it. I really do. I think he's due it. In other news, obviously, the rumour mill going around is that Joshua is likely going to announce his new trainer. It's likely going to be Derek James. Now, a few people were questioning about that and saying they don't think it's a good move. he's not done much work with heavyweights, but I think that Derek James, I look at James and I see a very talented trainer. I see someone who can maybe bring out untapped potential in Anthony Joshua that other trainers may not. I really do think AJ set himself up in the US with him, a worker with him, full time. I'm saying full time. I don't want to see him jump ship to this guy, jump ship to that guy. If he can stay with Derek James and work with him full time, I'm telling you now, we may not see it in his first fight, maybe not even in his second fight, but we may start to see subtle little improvements. If we see nothing, we'll see subtle little improvements. Because I've said before, it can take a while for a fighter and trainer to fully gel. It's not a case of one camp, boom, there you go. It can be 2 camps, it can be 3 camps sometimes, you don't know. So Derek James, Anthony Joshua, again, I've said it once, I'll say it again, I think that's a fine match personally. And we'll end it with this one of, this made my day reading this actually. Moses Itauma will make his professional debut on January 28th at the OVO Wembley Arena on the undercard of Anthony Yarde versus Artur Beterbiev. Now, as I've said, I'm hoping to attend that fight. I'm hoping to attend the press conferences. If I do, touch wood, I do get to attend them, I will 100% be looking for an interview with Moses Itauma. I've said it once, I'll say it again. I'm very much looking forward to seeing his career. I'd love to see him live and in person, see how he looks. A very talented heavyweight. He's been speaking about fighting 8 times a year because he wants to fight. He wants to break Tyson's record. So 8 fights this year, 8 fights next year. May 2025, which is in a little over 2 years' time, is the deadline he's given himself. Can he do it? He's definitely talented enough. We'll see what way the heavyweight landscape is at the time. But could he do it? I think he's got a better chance than others who've come before him, put it like that. I really do. I think he's talented. I think this kid is something else. I really do. I think he's a tremendously talented fighter. I think this kid's got the package. I really do. I'm looking forward to seeing his career. I hope I get to interview him in the build-up week to Anthony Yarde Beterbiev. I really, really hope so. I think it'd be fantastic. I think this kid's going to be something special. In terms of him fighting 8 times a year, well, it's going to be difficult. We're going to see how many Queensberry cards happen. I know Warren has put some of his fighters on some cards that happen over in Dubai, Saudi Arabia. I know we had Raven Chapman out there before Christmas on a card. I think that was in Dubai or somewhere like that she was fighting. So he has done that with his fighters before. If there's not any fights here, he can't get you on cards here, he's let his fighters, or he's loaned his fighters out there, maybe over there. He worked close with Bob Arum. Maybe he'd loan him to Bob Arum to a top rank show, something like that. I don't know. The only problem with that is that Sky have the rights for the top rank shows. I don't think he'd want Moses Itauma on a Sky show. When these BT Sports are going to probably look to build on him. But we'll wait and see. Moses Itauma, again, cannot sing his praises enough. I think looking at him, he looks tremendously talented. But we need to see what he's like in the pro ring. We need to see how his heart is, how his chin is, how his stamina is, how, when the tough gets tough, does he get going or does he stick down and fight it? Face it like a warrior. That's what we need to see. He is only 18 years old, but from what I've seen of him in the amateurs, this kid has talent. He has talent to burn. He really does. Really, truly does. So I'm very excited to see what Moses Itauma looks like and where we're going to go with his career. For now, lads and lassies, I'll leave you with that. That's Midweek Report in a nutshell. I hope you enjoy it. Depending on when I get the thumbnail, this will be up before or after I've just been on Jamie's show. So hopefully you'll tune into that. I'm on with Jamie at 8:30. I can't wait. I love being on there. Punch Perfect Boxing. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. If this is up before the live, I'll just pin the link in the comments. If it's after, I'll still pin it. Go over, give Jamie a sub. For now, I'll talk to you people. Peace.